Kimber remained focused on the road behind us throughout our ascent. It was slow going at times and we got stuck every mile or two. I wondered if Kimber could even get the car back down in the morning. There seemed to be no fear in her, no anxiety in her voice, no agitation in her movements. Kimber knew as well as I did that this was the end, and she didn't hesitate to meet it. Finally, I saw what I was looking for, a turnoff to a more level road that would move us literally around the mountain. I took the corner and drove 1.5 miles down the road before finally putting the car in park. Kimber turned around in her seat, stared out the back window. "They're not following us," I said.
"How do you know?"
"Because I've been followed before." Kimber turned back around in her seat and chewed on her thumbnail. "But just because we're being followed doesn't mean we can go back," I said. "They're not going to let us off this mountain."
I choked on a deep breath of thin mountain air, hoping to calm my racing heart. Kimber patted my back. "Breathe, Sam." She leaned forward and popped her glove compartment open,
and took out a large folded paper target. "Why do you keep that in your car?" I asked.
Kimber shrugged. "Practice."
She opened the door and stepped into the snow. I followed her. "You think they're following us? And you want to shoot a gun out here?"
"You said we weren't being followed. I trusted you." She gave me a small smile, as if she hadn't said anything significant. Kimber trusted me.
That was a bittersweet victory that wouldn't last long.
"Come on, you need to learn how to shoot. Use the Beretta since you favor it so much."
Honestly, I thought it looked cool, I admitted.
"It does, and it sounds cool too. You ever shot a firearm before?"
I didn't hit anything.
"Well, that's not going to be acceptable up here. We have a lot of ammunition, but it's not going to help us if you can't hit anything." I couldn't argue with that. Now, the sheriff's probably going to be wearing a vest, so you can't aim for body mass. You'll need to hit him in the head. Same with Jimmy and anyone else that shoots at you.
"Okay,"
I said, as if we weren't discussing murdering cops. Kimber walked 20 yards, then pinned the target to a tree branch. Now, the Beretta is a semi-automatic gun, so you won't need to chamber every cartridge. Just point and shoot in succession.
"Right."
You don't need to rack the slide because there's already a bullet in the firing chamber. Your left foot should be in front of your right, about shoulder length apart. Hold the gun with both hands. Good. Now align the sights and fix on the target. Squeeze the trigger when you're ready.
The shot was louder than I expected, and echoed through the mountains for almost 3 seconds. Well, if they didn't know we were here, they do now.
"Not bad," Kimber said as she walked up to the target. "You hit the very outside circle. Let me correct your stance a little."
We worked through the afternoon in similar form, taking a lot of time between each shot. I'd fire the gun. Kimber would adjust me or give me advice. I'll try again.
With each progressive squeeze of the trigger, I got a little bit closer to the center of the target. She worked with me until the sun had sunk further into the horizon,
and the shadows were too long to decipher from each other. I was beginning to shiver in the sunless cold.
"I know you're freezing, but this is the perfect amount of light to practice in. You're still leaving at 3 a.m., right?"
"Yes, but Kimber, I can't have you out there. You know that, right?"
"Why do you think I'm teaching you to shoot?"
"You're gonna let me go alone?"
"Do I have a choice?"
"No."
Kimber shrugged. "And I guess I have to."
It was too easy. Deceptively easy. We both knew she didn't mean it. But I didn't want to argue.
Okay, so get low like I taught you. Try to hit the birch tree again. I'm gonna go get the SIG so I can show you how to shoot a rifle. I eyed the white bark of the far-off birch through the trees. I was determined to hit the trunk this time, even though I knew I wouldn't have the luxury of taking time to line up my shots. I needed to learn how to use them properly if I was going to have any chance of success. I exhaled slowly and brought my finger down to wrap around the trigger. Sam, stop! I turned around to see Kimber standing at the trunk of the car. Her face, which had been flushed from the cold last night, had gone white as the snow as she was standing in. What's wrong? It's gone. What's gone? I asked in confusion. All of it! What? I walked over next to Kimber and stared into the trunk.
All that remained was one bulletproof vest and a scribbled piece of yellow legal paper. We know all you have on you is one semi-automatic handgun. We're leaving you this ballistic vest to show you that we play fair. Your daddy wants to see you. Come to us before we come to you. Coordinates below. The good guys. P.S. Your vehicle has been low-jacked, courtesy of the Butler County Sheriff's Department. They just won, Kimber said, in a deaf sort of bewilderment. And she was right. We were absolutely fucked. No, I said, maybe we can still...
Kimber slapped my face. She seemed to immediately regret it, as if she was surprised herself, but she carried on anyway. Don't be an idiot, Sam! Kimber jerked the 9mm out of my hand and ejected the clip. It was empty.
You don't have anything on you? Nothing, I asked in cold fear.
I could work with very little, but I couldn't work with nothing at all. Nothing, said Kimber as she racked the slide. Except this.
A bullet sprung out of the chamber and fell into the thin layer of snow below where it sunk.
I fell to my knees to retrieve it.
One bullet. One bullet.
Probably have failed with 1,000 bullets, but with only one, I might as well just put it into my head.
When could they have done this?
I was beginning to panic. I don't know. After we did our inventory days ago. Fuck. But how did they know what we were carrying on us? Probably watching us, Kimber said. Or Jimmy told them. Shook my head wildly, unable or unwilling to comprehend our current situation. I couldn't get control of my fear. We needed to sit. We needed to think.
Get in the car, I said finally. We need to get into the car. We shut the doors and I turned on the engine, blasting the hot air into the cab.
We ran it for 20 minutes, but nothing seemed to dissipate the cold. Maybe we should just leave.
Kimber's voice was wobbled when she finally spoke.
Her shock was melting into hopelessness. I'm back in another 10 years.
I didn't want to tell her that we couldn't leave. They were tracking the car.
They knew exactly where we were.
They always had. All roads down the mountain were already blocked. All roads now led to Borrasca. I pulled off my jacket and shoved it behind my lower back,
which was beginning to throb in pain. Kimber was in and out of sleep, and I occasionally turned off the car to preserve gas, making sure to cover her with the clothes that I could find in our duffel bags. It was midnight.
The woods were quiet, and there was no moonlight to reveal what surrounded the car.
We were enveloped by empty, black,
ice-cold air.
I was cold and tired and in pain. I needed to wait until a few hours before dawn to start my trek up to the mine, and the walk to Borrasca would be around 2.5 hours from where we were.
I had to make sure I left Kimber with enough gas to get down the mountain and out of town. Because as soon as the sheriff was dead, or I was, they'd be looking for her. I watched her sleep and wondered at the madness of the world. We should all have lived normal lives, graduated together, went to college, been roommates, backpacked Europe.
But none of that could happen now.
And what cruel irony it was that Kimber was more of a sister to me than she had been to Kyle. The universe was just a big fucking asshole. I rubbed my eyes and debated braving cold outside for a cigarette. I had 14 left. I planned to smoke them all before I reached the mine.
I didn't mean what I said.
I jumped a little, and Kimber laughed softly. I didn't know you were awake.
Who can sleep?
Yeah, good fucking point. Kimber sat up and pushed 20 pounds of clothes off of her. I noted the time and started the car.
I didn't mean it. What I said about wishing it had been you instead of Kyle.
Don't worry about it, I said,
Shifting uncomfortably in my seat.
I wish the same thing.
No, Sam. Kimber grabbed me by the side of my head and pulled me to her while she rested her forehead against mine. There's no one I would rather have by my side tomorrow. And I know you don't want me there. But I will be. To the very end.
With Kimber holding me the way that she was, there was no way for me to hide my wet eyes. I pulled my head back and wiped my face with a ratty flannel sleeve. Emotions were so much more overwhelming when you felt all of them.
Without responding to her, I opened the door and stepped out into the piercing mountain air.
I closed the door, leaned against it, and dug in my pockets with a shaking hand. I'd left my parka in the car in my haste to get out of it, but I wasn't going back now.
My new mantra echoed through my mind again.
1 bullet. I heard the passenger door open and turned in time to catch the parka Kimber had thrown at me.
You idiot!
Get back in the car, it's freezing.
You think?
Took a long drag off my cigarette and felt the nicotine begin to work its magic. I needed to stay calm. 1 bullet, Kimber. I pulled my parka around my shoulders.
And a bulletproof vest.
Yeah.
Actually, it's more of a bullet-resistant vest, depending on what you get shot with. Nothing's really bulletproof, am I right?
I gave her an icy glare. Well, I didn't know that, but thanks.
Sorry, she said with clenched teeth.
Fine.
Doesn't matter.
Probably just shoot me in the head anyway.
Are you almost done? Because it's fucking freezing out here. Do you want to get some sleep?
I'll sleep plenty soon enough, I thought morbidly. Not really. I flicked the cigarette away and followed the amber glow to where it settled in the fresh, still falling snow. We climbed back into the car and I checked the time. 4 more minutes, and I'd have to shut the engine off again.
I know you think I should stay. So tell me, what would I do after you leave?
Kimber asked, as she laid both of her hands over the air vents. Wait until you hear gunfire. As soon as you do, get the hell off this mountain. If you haven't heard anything by 6 a.m., leave anyway. Ditch the car about 3 miles down and walk out. Do not follow the road. Keep going downhill. Call Seth as soon as you get signal.
Kimber nodded. Interesting. And how will I know what happened to you?
I'll contact you. Or I won't.
We both knew
It would likely be the latter.
the chances that I could get a shot off, especially one that my father was expecting, were less than 1%. But I knew they wouldn't let us off the mountain until one of us was dead.
I just hoped it'd be the sheriff.
I checked the time and turned off the car. How far is Borrasca from here?
Couple of hours.
Ah,
Kimber buried herself under half the errant clothing and threw the other half over me.
you know I could just follow you, right?
I know. I could already see her breath, and the car hadn't been on for 10 seconds.
Unless you tell me an acceptable plan, unless I truly believe that you can live through this without me, I'm going to follow you.
You can't, Kimber. I need to stop being a selfish little shit and sacrifice something for once in my life, and you've lost too much already.
But I need to do this, Sam.
I won't watch you die. I fucking won't let that happen.
Don't you think you're being selfish right freaking now? My death isn't yours to decide. I've gotten us this far, and I've been preparing for this for so long. You can't go without me.
Let me do this for you, Kimber. My monster's dead. I killed them. I'm clean.
I can do this. I'll find out the truth about Kyle and where he is, and I'll call you. I know Borrasca has signal because Emma called the sheriff there. Maybe he'll go easy on you. Maybe his guard will be down since you're his son. You're the only son he has and all.
I doubt it. We did burn all of his daughter's photos and pistol whip his wife.
Worth it. What do you mean about Whitney's photos?
Trust me, you're better off not knowing.
Kimber sighed. One gun, one bullet, one vest. We need a motherfucker of a plan.
Yeah, we do.
And I need to be part of it. Fuck no, Kimber. I'm not gonna back down from this. Neither am I. Look.
If I can come up with something that gives me a reasonable chance of not dying, will you agree to assist from afar?
I'm listening. But you should expect me to argue.
Trust me, I do.
And argue is what we did. Deep into the crisp morning hours, before I was ready, the clock showed 3 a.m. I turned off the car and threw on everything that I could spare for the walk to Borrasca.
Over Kimber's sleeping form.
The cold would wake her soon enough. I equipped myself with everything I needed,
Closed the door quietly behind me.
and started off alone.
Toward Borrasca. There's a lot to think about when you're walking towards your end. But instead of the existential bullshit I expected,
My mind wandered in and out of the past.
I reveled in the memories I had been unable to conjure for a decade. Of my family, as we were and my childhood friends.
It was not something I wanted to forget again. Finding the mine wasn't hard.
I simply followed the road we had turned into the day before. I had to go off the trail a few times, but I knew the map well. Recalling details came so easily to me now. Still, as much as I hated to admit it, I didn't want to die sober.
I wondered how much it would hurt if he shot me in the head.
Not a lot, I thought.
At least that was something to hope for.
I was wearing 6 layers of clothes, but frozen to the core by the time the sun turned the sky a murky gray. The cigarettes were gone,
And I had been jonesing for another for the past hour and a half.
I needed more time, but I knew I was almost there.
I left the trail that I'd been on to make one more shortcut. Along the river, within 20 minutes, I could see the edge of the mining camp. The sheriff must have been tracking me because he was already standing at the large clearing facing my direction, surrounded by 9 of his men.
And a smirking,
Jimmy Prescott. Jimmy was standing a few feet behind my father, smoking a cigarette and watching me as I approached. He winked. Before I knew they were behind me, 2 deputies standing in uniform grabbed my arms, pinned them to my sides, and dragged me the last few yards into camp. They dumped me at the sheriff's feet, and he looked down at me in disgust. 13 men and 1 bullet. Can't believe it all came down to the lies and whims of Jimmy fucking Prescott. I stood up, noting all the guns suddenly drawn on me in response, and I looked at the sheriff eye to eye. I was sickened to realize that we were almost identical in every way. His hair was the same dark brown color as mine, untouched by age. The skin on my face boasted only a few light creases in my terrible lifestyle, and wreathed features somehow matched his older age. I wondered how had Kimber stomached my face every day without turning away in disgust. "Hello, Graham," I said, and spat in the snow between us. You're a goddamn disgrace. "Shut the fuck up," the sheriff said. "Grigg, teach my son some respect." I didn't bother to defend myself, and I wouldn't have had the time anyway. Grigg knocked me back into the snow before I could even blink. His fist split my cheek open under my left eye, and I didn't rush to get up from the cold, numbing snow that had now pressed against my face. It was in that moment that I felt Borrasca all around me again. It was as deafening as the last time. I could sense it in the air. The fear, the suffering, the pain. I could almost hear them whispering through the walls. They had 10 years before. "Help me or kill me, but don't leave me here." The building to the sheriff's back was mostly surely the dorm. It was larger than the other one, but radiated the same aura of agony and death. "Now listen the fuck up, Samuel. This little charade of yours ends today. It appears you actually believe a woman and a drug addict could single-handedly dismantle a business this size, so you must be fucking stupid. And that makes me feel sorry for you. So why don't you hand over the gun and go back to the ghetto you crawled out of?" I pushed myself to my knees. No. No. Are you dog shit insane, son? You broke into my house, destroyed pictures of my daughter, and beat my wife. You're lucky you're still alive. I've killed children for less. Looking at him now, I didn't doubt it. You need to die. Well then, by all means, take your shot. The sheriff swept off his arm mockingly. We know you only have 1 round or 2 left, because yesterday we heard 15 shots into the fucking trees. His deputies laughed, but the sheriff remained sober. Just remember, boy, your aim better be true, because when you come at the king, you better not miss. I fell into my arms as my lungs erupted into sudden coughing fits. Even if I could escape after the sheriff was dead, my lungs wouldn't hold up. I was fucked, I knew it. And the sheriff knew it, and his men knew it. And while the sheriff's gun hadn't left his holster, all but Jimmy Prescott had weapons trained on my chest and head. If I even reached into my jacket, I'd be shot. Or, the sheriff continued, you could use the sense that you were born with and go home. Hell, I'll even have Dreddy here drop off more heroin before you get there. You've run me up quite a tab with that boy over the years. My dad is my fucking supplier. My dad is my fucking supplier. How stupid was I? Fuck, I couldn't even remember the last time I'd paid for my drugs. He'd been keeping me harmless and docile for years. I'd let him do it. Who the fuck was this person I'd had once loved most in my life? No, I have questions you have to answer. Now that's where you're wrong, Sammy. I don't have to do anything. Ever.
Why did you hurt Whitney?
The sheriff yanked his gun out of his holster and then crossed his arms in front of him, pointing it at the ground. The only thing I did to Whitney was avenge her death. No, you raped her! The sheriff stepped forward and cracked me against the face so hard with his pistol that I felt bones snap in my nose. I fell back onto the snow, and before my vision had even cleared, he snapped one of my ribs with the toe of his boot. I lay curled up on my side for a few seconds while the pain radiated from my chest to my spine and scattered every nerve in my body. I really wish that I had had some H. If I were high enough, death would feel like a glorious footnote. When the pain was verging on manageable, I rolled over and got up on my hands and knees. Spitting blood into the snow, I raised my head to look up at my father. And he was standing above me, fist clenching the butt of his gun, and a red rage spread across his face. A bit of a sore spot. Don't you ever say anything so filthy about your sister ever again, or I'll shove my gun up under the ballistic vest and shoot you in your fucking gut.
I needed him angry.
But not angry enough to kill me. Not yet.
What happened to my mother? I grimaced, speaking hurt. The sheriff stepped back and smiled, his composure regained.
What a woman she was.
But I'm afraid she died in a freak accident some years ago. I don't believe you, I said, and sat back on knees, struggling to breathe. Slow breaths. Get the air in, don't pass out.
I don't give a shit if you believe me. This conversation is getting boring. This isn't a fucking Q&A. You had your chance to leave, but instead decided to say disgusting things about your sister.
Was I wrong?
You're talking about things you know nothing about. I loved Whitney. You're a fucking monster. Is that any way to talk to your father? You know, I think Grig needs to teach you some more fucking respect.
Fuck you.
I know what you did to Kimber. Oh, yeah. Would you rather it have been someone she didn't know? Someone that disgusted her like that geriatric fuck Clary? Or Prescott over here? Jabbed a thumb towards Jimmy. I would have rather it have been no one, I screamed at him, blood spilling across the space between and landing on his jacket. He backhanded me, and this time I didn't fall. You watch your tone with me, boy. It's been enough that my men here have to see what a fucking joke my own son has become. It's embarrassing.
And send them inside. Let's just talk, you and me.
I think I'm scared of you, Sammy. I don't even think that you have 2 bullets. I think you got 1. And I think you want to use it on me. Well, go ahead, son. Pull that gun on me. So I can kill you nice and legal.
Not until I know why you did this. You were my dad. I loved you. He laughed.
You don't look like any son of mine.
And more importantly, you're a cop. You're supposed to protect people.
No, Sammy, I'm a businessman. Always have been, even back then. Why the fuck do you think we came to Drisking in the first place?
I remember I hadn't understood it at that young age, but I knew now what the whispers had meant. Because of those girls.
The things they said you did. Exactly. Exactly. I was making money. They were getting laid.
They were 14.
14 is old enough, you think, Sam? Not like I touched them.
This is what you'd wanted all along.
Big rape empire. Sheriff shrugged. That's what it takes. I'm only here for the power And the women, I'm an alpha, Sam. That's why I can't figure out what the fuck happened to you. Got the blood of kings running through your veins, and you fill them with tar. That shit is for the fucking women, but I had to send it out to your handler every month. My only son is a white trash drug addict. How do you think that makes me feel? Should be your birthright. You're too weak to take it.
Give me more credit.
I'm stronger than you think. Strong enough to take a bullet to the head and live through it?
You? The sheriff's expression darkened.
Sam, you... Oh. Oi, boss! Look what I caught looking around.
15
men I hadn't seen previously came around the side of the door and pushing a woman in front of them.
Kimber,
I breathed, but the sheriff knew who she was. I'm sorry, Sam, they...
Well, the sheriff drew out the word.
I heard you turned into a looker, but I'd yet to confirm it for myself. Hello again, sweetheart. The sheriff walked over to Kimber and ran his fingers along the side of her face. She recoiled at his touch. Don't fucking touch her! I screamed and scrambled to my feet. Griggs shoved the barrel of his gun into the back of my head.
Sit the fuck down.
Watch your temper, Sam, the sheriff chided. You fucking this wild filly? That's my boy. At least I knew you didn't turn into a homo in prison. Stay away from her, you fucking pervert.
Blood was rushing into my ears and the rage in me was deafening.
Sam, stop! Kimber screamed. Just stop or he'll kill you.
The sheriff looked back at me and nodded at Griggs,
He cracked the stars into the back of my head with his fist. Manners, Sam. That's not how you talk in front of a lady. I've had enough goddamn disrespect from you. This is your last fucking warning. The sheriff turned to Kimber and yanked her hair towards him, so their faces were almost touching. She was writhing against the man behind her, holding her. Soon, princess. We'll catch up soon. The sheriff let go of Kimber's hair and walked back to the stand in front of me. Where were we?
Let Kimber go. Let her go and I'll do anything you want.
Oh, really? Anything? Yeah, let her go. Would you leave here and never come back? Yes. Would you stay here and let me run my business? I wheezed through a deep breath.
Yes.
Would you go inside right now and fuck one of the girls?
Yes. Please don't call my fucking bluff.
No, Sam! Kimber yelled. Richards, would you shut her the fuck up? The sheriff said. I heard a sickening thud, but couldn't see through the blood running into my eyes from one of the splits in my forehead. Kimber gasped. Now then, the sheriff continued, how about Phoebe Dranger? If I recall, she was a raging cunt to you in high school. Why don't you go in there and take some vengeance for yourself? Sure, she'd love it.
I don't... She's not really my type.
Oh? I guess Kimber DeStaro is more your type, isn't she?
No!
I said quickly. No, somebody else. Anybody else. What a fucking pussy. Jimmy Prescott laughed. Look, this family reunion has been real sweet and all, but we've got investors coming into town today. We got a lot of fucking shit to do before they get here. Plus, it's early as balls and I need some more fucking coffee. Can we please just kill this little prick and get on with our day? The sheriff shot Jimmy an annoyed look. Do I look like I need to be fucking entertained right now? Did I tell my monkey to dance? No, I fucking didn't, so shut the fuck up, monkey. Jimmy shrugged, took a sip of coffee. Actually, Jimmy, on second thought, take the girl inside and find her a new home, the sheriff said. Make yourself fucking useful. No, you can't take her in there, I begged. Please, I'll do anything, Dad, please, don't make her go in there. The sheriff turned around and gave me a disgusted look and shook his head in disappointment.
Then, without even turning to look at her, the sheriff shot Kimber in the chest, where she stood, and she fell over into the snow without making a sound.